Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling completely invisible? Like you talked, you shared, you opened up, and somehow the other person heard absolutely nothing that mattered. That feeling is one of the loneliest experiences a human being can go through. And what makes it worse is that it happens with the people closest to you. Your partner, your best friend, your coworker, your family. The people who are supposed to get you. Here is what nobody tells you. The problem almost never starts with what someone says. It starts with how someone listens. And there is one specific skill, one shift in the way you listen, that can completely transform every conversation you will ever have. Not most conversations, every single one. Before we go any deeper, if you are someone who is serious about changing your relationships at a fundamental level, there are programs linked down below in the video description that go much further than what we cover here. People who are genuinely committed to growth are checking those out right now. If that is not you, no problem. Keep watching. But if it is you, do not wait. Now let us talk about what is really going on. Picture this moment: you are sitting across from someone you care about. You are trying to explain something that has been weighing on you, something real, something vulnerable. And while you are talking, you can see it happening in slow motion. Their eyes drift slightly. Their body turns just a few degrees away. They are nodding, but it is mechanical, like a bobblehead in a car window. And then they wait. You can feel them waiting. Not for understanding, just for their turn to speak. And when that moment comes, they launch into their response. And it is completely disconnected from what you actually said. They either solve a problem you did not ask them to solve, or they redirect the conversation back to themselves, or they give you some generic reassurance that lands completely flat. And you sit there in this weird fog thinking, did they even hear me? Was I even here? That is not just a communication problem. That is a disconnection that erodes trust over months and years without either person fully realizing what is happening. Researchers who study relationship satisfaction have tracked couples and found that feeling unheard is one of the top predictors of long-term breakdown. Not conflict, not disagreement, simply not feeling heard. And here is what makes this so painful. Most people who do this have no idea they are doing it. The person sitting across from you is not trying to dismiss you. They think they are listening. They genuinely believe the conversation is going fine. That gap between what they think is happening and what you are actually experiencing, that gap is where relationships quietly fall apart. Now let us flip this completely. Think about one person in your life, maybe someone you have not spoken to in a while, where every time you talked to them you felt completely different afterward. You felt lighter, you felt seen. You might have gone into that conversation feeling tangled up inside, and by the end you felt like something had quietly sorted itself out. Not because they gave you brilliant advice. Not because they said anything particularly clever, but because they listened in a way that made you feel real. What did they actually do differently? This is where the skill lives, and it is simpler than anything you have been taught before. The skill is called reflective presence. And before you think that sounds complicated, stay with me for 60 seconds because this is going to change how you see every conversation you have from this point forward. Most people listen in one of two ways. They listen to respond, meaning they are already composing their next sentence while you are still talking. Or they listen to fix, meaning they are scanning your words for a problem they can solve. Both of those modes of listening are fundamentally about the listener, not about you. Reflective presence is the third mode. It is listening to understand, not just the words, but the weight behind them. And the way you do it comes down to one core practice that takes less than 5 seconds and costs nothing. You reflect back what you heard before you respond to it, not a word-for-word repetition. Not a therapy cliché, just a brief, genuine mirroring of the emotional core of what was shared. Something like, it sounds like that situation made you feel completely trapped. Or, what I am hearing is that you worked really hard and it still did not feel like enough. That is it. That simple act does something neurologically significant. It tells the other person's nervous system that they are safe, that they have been received. And when a person feels received, they open up in ways that completely change the depth of the conversation. Studies in interpersonal neurobiology show that people make decisions about whether to trust someone within seconds of feeling heard or unheard, not minutes, seconds. And when that trust is triggered, everything changes. People share more honestly, they become more cooperative, they actually listen better in return. The entire dynamic of the conversation shifts because you shifted first. This is the part that most people completely miss. You do not need the other person to learn this skill. You do not need to tell them about it. You do not need them to change. When you show up with reflective presence, the conversation transforms on its own because you become the anchor in it. People unconsciously rise to the energy of the best listener in the room. Think about what that means in real numbers. If you have 3 meaningful conversations a day and you bring reflective presence into each one, you are changing the trajectory of dozens of relationships over the course of a single year. The person at work who always seemed closed off suddenly starts confiding in you. The family member who always seemed defensive starts letting their guard down. Your closest relationships get deeper than they have been in years, all because you made one shift in how you listen. Now here is where it gets even more interesting, because most people who try to improve their conversations start from completely the wrong place. They think they need to become more articulate. They invest time in speaking skills, debate techniques, how to be more persuasive, how to tell better stories. And those things have value, but they are building on an unstable foundation. The foundation of every powerful conversation is not what you say. It is whether the other person feels understood before you say it. When someone feels genuinely understood, your words land differently. Your advice carries more weight. Your opinions are considered rather than dismissed. Your humor actually lands. Everything you bring to a conversation becomes more effective the moment the other person trusts that you truly heard them first. This is not a soft skill. This is a strategic one. The most influential people across every field, whether in business, leadership, relationships, or any domain of life, share one thing in common. They make the people around them feel deeply heard. That is not an accident. That is a practiced skill that compounds over time. And here is something to sit with. The cost of not developing this skill is not just in the conversations that go badly. It is in the opportunities you never see, the relationships that stay surface level, the deals that fall apart quietly, the friendships that drift without a dramatic ending, just a slow fading. That slow fade is the real price of not listening well, and it is paid in isolation. But the return on investing in this one skill is measurable and real. Stronger relationships, greater influence, more genuine connection, less conflict, and an internal sense of peace that comes from knowing that the people around you actually feel good when they walk away from a conversation with you. That matters deeply. If what we covered today resonated with you and you want to go further, the programs in the description below are designed for people who are done staying at the surface level. Most people will scroll past. The ones who do not are the ones who show up differently in every room they walk into. If that is who you are committed to becoming, go check out what is waiting for you down there right now, because the people taking action today are not waiting for the perfect moment. They are creating it.